This is WCPO 9 News.
Thanks for joining us for WCPO 9 News. I'm Tanya O'Rourke. Here's a look at some of today's top stories. The University of Cincinnati is reviewing allegations about its men's basketball program. Now, this comes after the Bearcats lost in the conference championship game. Then 6 players entered the transfer portal, meaning they intend to leave the program. It's not clear why those players are leaving or what the allegations concern, but the university did release a statement Friday. It says the University of Cincinnati, in conjunction with independent fact finders, will commence a review of allegations related to its men's basketball program. UC's athletic director in his own statement said, "The university has always put the welfare of its student athletes first. We feel this is an essential step to ensure that all of our athletic programs meet the highest standards." Cincinnati leaders say they will use federal stimulus money to help local restaurants. The city's getting $292 million from the American Rescue Plan. The city manager is setting aside funds for phase 2 of a restaurant grant program.
This is a program that we worked on with the Chamber of Commerce, and Brendan Call helped organize for us. And we are going to be dedicating $4 million of our federal funds to provide emergency grants to bars and restaurants to get them through this last month or two when everybody gets vaccinated and we can go back to normal.
Another $2 million would support an outdoor dining grant program. City Council has to sign off on the idea before those funds are distributed. A new series of free concerts from Arts Wave starts today. Find Arts in the Parks at DeVue Park in the Bandshell from 1 to 5. Performers include the Redemption Brothers, Tracy Walker, and the Kentucky Symphony Orchestra's DeVue Doodaddies. Art Wave says the venues for each monthly concert will rotate with multiple performances for each show.
Hi there, I'm Chief Meteorologist Steve Raleigh. Looking at our Saturday here, we've got some nice sunshine after a few clouds in the morning. Temperatures get to the low 70s. Then for tomorrow, well, it looks like things are going to be much cooler. Temperatures only in the mid 50s. And in between here, for later tonight, overnight, we're going to see some rain that could get left over into your Saturday morning with a couple of storms too. You'll notice into next week, we're keeping an eye on opening day. It looks cool for our Thursday.
I'm Larry Seward in Clifton. From Cincinnati Children's to the White House, a doctor is hunting dignity for a community that feels overlooked by vaccine rollout and expendable.
I'm a constituent out of Mason, Ohio.
Dr. Kara Ayer's voice is more than her own. The Cincinnati Children's PhD runs the National Center for Dignity in Healthcare with People with Disabilities and co-runs her family of 5 with a husband in a similar spot, battling bone and lung weakening conditions that put both in wheelchairs where they see clear bias in COVID-19 vaccine access.
I've definitely had sleepless nights, worried about the future of my family and our health during this pandemic. The largest problem has been just a lack of consideration of disability-related needs. We hear about some of these max vax sites, which are a great way to vaccinate a lot of people at once. But for somebody maybe with autism or with sensory issues, that loud, huge crowded space in itself could be a huge deterrent. I've heard from many voices who have said, I just don't feel like I'm seen as worthy. If something as small as my ability to even use the website is not considered, then what does that tell me, about policy makers remembering me? Kind of this idea of that that the sick, are expendable. The impact is, in best case, delayed vaccination, where people eventually do access it. In other cases, we have real concerns about people who are still waiting or have encountered these barriers and can't seem to get through. To feel forgotten is to feel devalued. And I myself know of the wealth of benefits that our disability community bring to every community, family, school, place of employment that they are present within. And I wish more people could see that value. But I do worry that there's a sense of despair that will make some people feel like that they're not intended to be a part of this process.
Dr. Ayers will soon meet virtually with President Biden's Health Equity Task Force to share her story, hoping it and her community story leads to solutions and inclusion in future decisions. Larry Seward, WCPO 9 News.
Hey guys, WCPO 9 News reporter Jake Ryle here. Norwood police say Sunday's pursuit started here at Victory Parkway in Sherman, and for the first time, we're seeing the moments following a crash that led to several injuries.
Hey firm, we're on Harrison, westbound.
You were inside of the Norwood police cruiser Sunday evening. The police pursuit has already changed jurisdictions. Now northbound on I-75 headed toward the Harrison Avenue exit. The Norwood officer ran the plate and the silver van they're now chasing came up as stolen.
Vehicle ran the red light at Queen City.
The suspect driving recklessly as the officer continues the pursuit.
Left-hand turn on Grand Avenue. Oh, crash!
That crash between a pickup truck and the stolen silver van.
Two-car MVA, Westwood. Stop right there!
The officer assesses the scene. 5 people are injured, some of the injuries considered serious. It comes in the wake of other police pursuits in the tri-state, one of which a CPD chase in the middle of rush hour, ending in Newport, with 81-year-old Raymond Label and his wife, Gail, dying at the scene after being struck by the fleeing vehicle last August. Following that crash, our I-team examined police department police pursuit policies across the tri-state. The issue? There's no uniform pursuit policy across Cincinnati area departments, but that could soon change. The Hamilton County Police Chiefs Association is taking a look right now at coming up with a standard. The hope? Arresting the suspects without the need for a high-speed pursuit, which could put civilian lives at risk. And if a pursuit is necessary, for each department to follow the same protocols and procedures. Jake Ryle, WCPO 9 News.
And WCPO 9 News reporter Kristen Swilley. Kentucky Governor Andy Beshear recently signed off on what's being called a redo bill. It allows students who struggled during the pandemic to make up their current academic year, but there are some people who are concerned about the domino effect this could create.
I think the intent of the bill is wonderful.
A good idea in theory, many believe, but is it the best play for students throughout the Commonwealth? Mother and teacher Kathy Bessler is optimistic, but unsure.
I don't know about the implementation. I see a lot of kinks that have to be worked out.
Among them, adapting course selection currently based on a 4-year plan and budgetary concerns.
What if everybody took you up on this and all of a sudden now you have another 20% more students? What is that going to do to the teachers in terms of the number of kids in their classroom and the overall budget?
Local school boards will have access to federal funds and the power to approve or reject any request to retake or supplement this year's classes. Governor Beshear says this is a chance to reclaim lost experiences and settle the score, especially for senior student athletes.
While educators have done their best in these trying circumstances, the pandemic has deprived some students of priceless opportunities and memories.
It could be a win-win for a lot of kids, but I think there's a lot of logistics and just things that have to be worked out to make it work for everybody.
Kristen Swilley, WCPO 9 News.
More than 20% of people in Ohio, Kentucky, and Indiana have gotten at least one dose of the COVID-19 vaccination. Meanwhile, as restrictions are relaxed and more folks are traveling, spring break may not be the cause of rising cases. Images of parties in Miami during a pandemic can seem alarming, but a Northern Kentucky University health expert says we can't overlook the true super spreaders.
The first one is larger family gatherings that are taking place indoors. And the second are in places like restaurants and bars and places where you would go and you want to take off your mask so you can consume something, but perhaps the ventilation isn't good or you're not socially distanced or you're hanging out there for a few hours.
CVG expects airport travel to increase by 50% over spring break and into the summer. Valerie Hardcastle says it's not so much the destination, but what you do when you get there.
There's this impulse to just kind of throw caution to the wind, and maybe you've had one vaccine but not both, and just try to go back to normal living. And it's really dangerous to do that right now.
You can safely go to the beach and just not be near crowds.
States like Michigan are in the national spotlight for potentially hitting a 4th wave of COVID-19. Where do we stand in the tri-state?
What we see right now in at least Kentucky and Ohio, not so much in the other states that surround us. Their growth rate is accelerating. But what you see right now is what's called community spread. And that means it's spreading at a rate that is kind of consistent over time.
So we're not trending toward a 4th wave, but we're not trending away either.
We're just kind of hanging in the middle.
All the health officials I talked to say no matter if you're vaccinated or who around you may be vaccinated, masks are still essential. In the studio, Raven Richard, WCPO 9 News.
As if we didn't have enough to worry about these days with politics and the pandemic, now people are receiving strange debit cards in the mail, and it could be either a scam or your stimulus check. Evelyn Schott opened her mailbox the other day to find an unexpected delivery to her Clifton home.
Yeah, debit and Visa.
It was a U.S. Bank Relia card, the card that more than a dozen states use for unemployment benefits, including Ohio.
At first, I thought it was my regular ATM card. And when I saw that it said Relia card, I got a little nervous.
That's because Evelyn never filed for unemployment, so she called the number on the card.
They took my information. They also suggested that I file a police report.
U.S. Bank says it's aware of this fraud, which can happen if a thief files for unemployment under your name and social security number. But U.S. Bank is just one debit card to watch for. Many states, like Kentucky, use Bank of America debit cards. Still others, like Indiana, use KeyBank cards. So be suspicious of any debit card showing up that you're not expecting. So what should you do if you get an unexpected debit card in the mail? The Federal Trade Commission says don't just cut it up or toss it. Someone could be applying for benefits in your name. The FTC says report the unwanted card to the bank, contact the state unemployment office, and place a fraud alert on your credit with Equifax, Experian, and TransUnion. But a caution, if you receive a debit card from MetaBank with a note from the Treasury Department, that's not a scam. That could be your $600 stimulus check, so don't throw it away. Evelyn says it's all very confusing. How did someone get your social? Usually from one of many recent data breaches. So don't throw away any unexpected debit card. Covering the rebound, John Matarese, WCPO 9 News.
This shot marked a major milestone in Kelly Neese's career.
I'd say I'm proud of it, but it doesn't, winning's more important.
Very few players have scored as many points as Kelly Neese, but he's still number 2 in his own family. That's video from 2016, a game winner from Kelly's older sister, Allie, on the same night she reached 2,000 career points.
Having your sister play and be the big star, I guess you could say, it was really cool to look up to her and see what she could do here.
Neither sibling, though, had an easy road to get there. Do you remember the night your sister got hurt?
Oh yeah, it was in a scrimmage in summer. Down here on the block down there.
My left leg went backwards, popped out of place, and then popped back into place.
We were sitting up there in the corner, and my mom yelled.
And then I remember thinking in my mind, like, I didn't tear my ACL. There's no way I tore my ACL.
Allie didn't just tear her ACL, she also tore her MCL and meniscus.
You get a sickening feeling as when you evaluate an injury like that, and you know what it could mean for that athlete.
Allie had surgery and quickly began rehab.
Rehab itself was I think it was more mentally hard than physically.
Remarkably, she was able to make it back on the court by the end of her senior season. And now, she plays basketball at Northern Kentucky University. But unfortunately, that was not the last time Nick Repko would see a Neese sibling walk into his office.
Oh no. My first thought was, not again.
I'll never forget that at all. I could tell when I did it that something really bad happened.
In the offseason before his junior year, Kelly tore his ACL.
Seeing her go through that recovery before really helped me, but seeing her go through that and then me go through that, she really led the path for me to do that.
Well, he's also kind of competitive, so he would be like, hey, if Allie can do it, I can do it.
And he did. He recovered, which brings us back to this shot. Not even 2 years after the injury, Kelly broke the all-time scoring record for Simon Kenton boys basketball. And later broke the single game record too, with 47 points in one game. 2 siblings.
It just taught me to not take anything for granted.
And 2 devastating injuries.
I want things to just stack up for him so finally he can be like, okay, all that was worth it, because he's been through a lot.
But through adversity, they gained perspective. In Northern Kentucky, Caleb No, WCPO 9 Sports.
Dayton, Ohio's arcade complex has been in limbo and in jeopardy for decades. In 2007, a group formed to raise hundreds of thousands of dollars to save it, and they took a newspaper reporter along with them. That newspaper reporter was me. I wanted to come back and see how the arcade has progressed.
It's the most complicated project that I've ever worked on, for sure.
Wyoming resident Francis Kern-Manone handled the financing. This is a more than $90 million project requiring dozens of tax credits, loans, grants, and more.
I like to say that I did a lot of the transaction from the high-speed lane of Interstate 75.
Cross Street Partners is one of 3 key players bringing this National Historic Complex back to life. OTR-based Model Group is another.
If you were at UC in engineering, structural engineering, and wanted to do your thesis, this was the place.
Long before he worked in Cincinnati, George Kepler was a UC student. Michael Rick just graduated.
I did a lot of drawings, but this is really the first time I've been able to see my drawings kind of come to life.
The iconic rotunda is starting to come to life again. It will be an event space connecting to a bar. 126 apartments there are almost done. And the hub is a co-working space and business incubator backed by UD.
There's a lot of cool pieces, and it's really being able to take advantage of every cool element.
Just how important is it?
There were a lot of people in the community who weren't going to believe that the redevelopment of the downtown central business district was really happening until they saw the arcade starting to go to re-engage the way they wanted it to.
In downtown Dayton.
Go to Skyline here, and they're talking about it.
I'm Evan Millward, WCPO 9 News.
We call this the most emotional building in Dayton, Ohio.
It was the gem of the Gem City. Built between 1902 and 1904, it was downtown's retail and restaurant hub.
I compare that to the Findlay Market in regards to it's the same thing as the farmer's market to start with, the same concepts. And look, everybody cherishes the Findlay Market in Cincinnati. It's the same thing here.
It was almost a no-brainer then for OTR-based Model Group to be part of bringing it back.
We really want to help Dayton turn things around.
Despite being on the National Register of Historic Places since 1975, the arcade was once listed on eBay, looked at to be torn down for scrap. It hasn't been used since the holidays of the early 90s.
It's probably in the top 2 of the toughest projects I've done in 43 years.
Decades of decay have taken their toll.
It was a nightmare.
Nelson Stark Company plumbing superintendent Boyd Williams grew up in Trenton. He got more than his name from his dad.
I knew my father and my father-in-law worked there back in the late 80s.
Imagine his surprise finding an almost untouched office with their time cards sitting on a desk in the arcade basement.
You can see the 8/1/89 date. Then my father-in-law is the top, Hager back, and second to the bottom was my father's name. I'm the third, so there's Boyd Williams. B. Williams.
There were plenty of surprises.
Every time we took a wall down, every time we opened up something, it was a problem.
9 buildings, all different but connected. They managed to keep some terrazzo floors, some wood ones, and these details around the rotunda. Most of the space is now the hub, a business incubator with UD and Sinclair students. 126 apartments are about to open. A bar is going in on the first floor.
It is a mixed-use development. First floor vibrancy is key.
It's not just the inside. They've had to restore several facades, too. They're still working on this one. The last time I was at the arcade was in 2007 as a newspaper reporter covering the effort to save it. This is what the North Arcade looks like today.
It's in dire need of getting refurbished, but we're ready to attack that.
This will become a kitchen incubator and fresh food market. Think Findlay Kitchen and OTR. Plus retail and a hotel or more apartments.
This is one of the keystones to get revitalization downtown.
Because it is one of a kind.
At the end of the day, what's your value proposition? What makes Dayton different from Cincinnati, Cincinnati different from Northern Kentucky? A lot of it's that history.
In downtown Dayton.
And the history is like right behind us.
I'm Evan Millward, WCPO 9 News. Hi there, I'm Chief Meteorologist Steve Raleigh. We're going to start our weekend off with plenty of sunshine. Dry air has moved in and, well, it's going to be sunny from start to finish around here. As we head through the day, warm air brings us to the 70s, but you see the rain that comes in late tonight into the overnight for Sunday, and then cool air for tomorrow. So some changes certainly in our forecast. Let me show you how it's going to break out. First, for our Saturday, we'll see partly cloudy skies and then just a lot of sun and temperatures in the 70s for the afternoon. But overnight tonight into our tomorrow, we're going to see some rain and a couple of thunderstorms. In fact, we could see a few leftover showers tomorrow morning, and then cooler temperatures only in the middle 50s through the day. My 9-day forecast then shows how it stays cool Monday and starts ramping up to some rain on Wednesday. But behind that front, it looks like our opening day forecast right now is going to be on the cooler side.
I'm Josh Bazan. An Ohio woman is reuniting with a pet that has been missing for years and only recently turned up halfway across the country. We'll share her excitement and how the two were able to be brought back together.
And one day he just didn't come back. Didn't come back.
More than 5 years ago, Margaret Burcham lost her pet cat, Bernie. She says he was outside in her yard in Florence, but that's the last time she ever saw him.
And I looked and I called the shelters and finally just kind of accepted that he was never coming back.
Burcham moved to the Dayton area around the time Bernie went missing. All this time, she went without any news or any hope until last month.
Apparently, someone found Bernie in Central Texas, and they traced him back to me.
A volunteer with that organization in Texas happened to be driving through Cincinnati on a family vacation, so she put Bernie in the back seat and made sure he got home safely.
Oh, please let this be them. Them, oh my God. Put this down. Here is Mr. Bernie with his mommy. Hi, buddy. Oh my gosh.
A reunion 5 years in the making, but a reunion Burcham never expected to get.
I can't believe it. Look at him. Hi, buddy. You're like, what's going on?
There are still plenty of unanswered questions.
How did you end up in Texas? That's what I want to know. We need to talk.
But Burcham is thankful to have Bernie back in her arms.
I didn't think I was ever going to see you again. And now here we are. I'm so glad. How often does something like this happen? Just amazing. And all the way in Texas.
Someone found Bernie in Waco, Texas. He was clean and healthy, so volunteers assumed he had a local family. But the people who run the Heart of Texas Lost and Found Pets page found out he had a microchip and tracked it back to Burcham.
But to be able to come visit my family and bring somebody along and give them the joy of having their animal back, it just makes the trip that much worth it.
Nobody is exactly sure how Bernie ended up so far from home, but Burcham says that mystery is okay with her now that he's back where he belongs. In Winton Place, Josh Bazan, WCPO 9 News.